Welcome to my Asshole Podcast. Let's get into it. Today is Thursday's episode. We got a good one for you. We got an interesting thread. We're going to be doing chapters 25 and 26 of According to Thorns and Roses. For you YouTube gents, you guys will no longer be looking at my face while we're reading the book. I got a little graphic to go up on the screen so that way you guys aren't just staring at me, staring at you, staring at me while we're reading the book. So that's going to be pretty nice. Made a little changes because yeah. Okay, without further ado, let's get into our thread for today. Thread is, what's something you find attractive that isn't the normal? All right, so let's see what you guys are finding out. Attractive that isn't the norm. My girlfriend told me that she finds the back ligament of my feet extremely hot, and I don't know what to do with that information. So, your Achilles tendon, she's like, ooh, that's sexy? Huh. I mean, what would be sexy about it? Does she suck on it? I bet you she does. You know what I mean? Hey, to each his own, I guess, hey. My wife is so cute in the morning. She looks so disheveled and ragamuffy, which is a far cry from her normal look of being fully buttoned up. I love it so much. Hey, yo, look, when a girl looks gorgeous, or yes, okay, when a girl looks cute and she looks kind of hot, when she's just in her pajamas or just in lounging around clothes, bruh. That's how you know you got you just a good one. That's how you know your man love you for you, bruh. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Because there's a lot of times where I see a girl and I'm just like, yo, damn, she is cute as hell. And, she's just wearing a baggy t-shirt and, some pajama pants or something like that. But you're just like, ay, chihuahua. I'm just saying. It's just one of those things where it's when a girl is just looking spicy and she's just wearing ordinary ass clothes, I'm telling you, man, that shit is legendary. That shit is absolutely legendary. I love that shit. I'd be like, goddamn, bro, just all right. Women in full suits of armor. I will not elaborate.
What?
I feel like that is a fetish of some sort. I feel like there's just a group of dudes that are just creating pictures of girls with armor on. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's not that. I don't think it's not hot, but I mean, because I'm sure there are ways you could make it. I guarantee you it's bikini armor or something like that. Come on, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. He did say full suits, though. He did say full suit. So I don't know. All right. Women who read before sleep. For some reason, I find it comforting watching someone reading while I'm half asleep. Huh. Okay. I mean, hey, to each his own. You know what I mean? That's what you're into. That's what you're into. You know? All right, I'm a 7 on a good day and a 5 on others. My wife thinks I'm a 10 because I can make her laugh on her worst days, and I've got mad skills in the kitchen. She gives me looking at a Greek god. Yeah, she gives me looking at a Greek god eyes if I'm making her laugh while prepping appetizers after a hard day at work. Somewhere along the way, I forgot I was average looking because the way she looks at me makes me believe I'm loved for exactly who I am. And that's wholesome as fuck, brother. That is wholesome as fuck. I always say, guys, you need to learn how to cook. Because if I'm being honest with you, man, you can get some mad bitches learning how to cook, man. I'm telling you. And if I'm being honest with you, man, girls ain't all that good at cooking anyway because all they know how to make is chicken Alfredo or pasta or some Mexican dish nobody cares to understand how to pronounce. Let's be honest here. That's all women know how to cook. A lot of dudes that know how to really cook, I mean, they cook. And man, they be cooking, brother. Cooking. And so that's what I'm saying. It's learn, and then honestly, for me, because I'm really good at cooking, and a lot of times when I like a girl, I will cook for her. Like, I'm telling you, if I cook for you, know you special. All right, facts. Just if I cook for you, if you say, hey, you should make this, and I make it, know you special. You know what I mean? Because I remember there was a time I learned how to make sushi for a girl. She ate it. She lit up when she had my sushi. I was like, oh my God. And, you know, she was like, what's in it? And I went all out, man. I was like, yeah, there's some like, little cucumber with the rice and the hoisin sauce. And then I did like a salmon roll where it was like, I had some salmon, some cucumbers, some, like the little carrot shavings, you know what I mean? I threw a little bit of that in there, and then I did like a teriyaki sauce. I did a bunch of other different rolls, but I got into it. But that's because I'm like, hey, girl, you is special, you know? I'm telling you. If I make food for you, know you special. All right? Like, facts. All right, some men are ass men, and others are boob men. Me, I'm a hips man. Hey, all right, facts. Because me, if I had to choose, I'd be a butt guy. But I am a midriff man all the way. I don't know what it is, but when I just see a nice flat tummy, I'm like, I'm like, arr! I want that. I'm all about it. I don't know why. Like, crop tops are my fucking weakness. Oh my God, they're my weakness. Swear to God, if I see a girl and she's wearing a very, fitting crop top, either like, a skirt or leggings or whatever, I am just like, goddamn, son. Midriff is my shit. I understand like why you'd be a hips guy, because I'm sure you're more, if you had to choose, he'd be a butt guy as well. But I'm telling you, man, a good midriff, woo! Oh, my close second is thighs. I ain't gonna cap. Like a good midriff, you know what I mean? With some nice thighs. Yeah, I'm all about it. I like protruding ears. I mean, what would count as protruding ears? Like, you like girls that'd be like Dumbo size or something, you know what I mean? He probably, that might be what it is. I like a girl with some big ears. I love it when a girl is wearing a tank top and a bra underneath, and it's just a bunch of straps. Is it that you could see the straps? Because, like, I remember back in the day when girls would wear, like, a tank top and they would wear a bra underneath, a lot of times you could literally see the whole bra. I mean, like, when it would poke out the top, I was like, damn, girl, them polka dots looking great on you. Or when they would wear a little lacy joint, you'd be like, wait, what? You'd be like, that's how you get down? Oh, man, yeah, that was like the Avril Lavigne back in the day, Man, yeah. Yeah, all my old people out there, you know what I'm talking about. Don't worry, I'm old too. Back, like I said, we whipping out the cane and bifocals today. God damn. But I'm dead serious though. It's like, go look that shit up. Early 2000s, like Avril Lavigne style. Where they'd wear the little white tank tops and you could see, the bra and whatnot. That shit was sexy, bro. That shit was sexy. Sharp canine teeth. It just makes me hung for some reason. Okay, alright, I ain't gonna lie, when there are girls that do the surgery to get the little vampire fangs, I find that to be hot. There is a girl on TikTok. She has she's a white girl, she has blonde hair, and she has a heavy, thick, like country accent, and she has that. Oh, I followed her so fast. I was like, you're so pretty. Man, I'm like, she's so pretty. Oh my God, you guys better not find her and tell her I said that. Okay? I'll be mad. I'll be upset. Don't do that to me. But, if you want to hook us up, let your boy know. Crow's feet on older women's eyes. It makes me think they got them from smiling and being happy. Well, see, at least you put a happy connotation to it. Because when he said crow's feet, I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I would equate that to like, yeah, them smiling and them laughing a lot. Yeah, because I that's what I love about a girl who has dimples. But I like when she only has dimples, like when she smiles and stuff like that, because then it just actively makes me want to do things to make her smile so I can see her dimples. Yeah. Oh man, love that shit. Love it. Absolutely love it. My man says stretch marks, like starting on the side at the lower butt cheek, going to the upper thigh, especially if you're naturally tan, because the stretch marks are a lot lighter than the skin. I should call her. Oh, hey, some dudes like stretch marks. Some dudes are like, man, that's what I'm talking about. Some dudes even like cellulite. Some dudes are like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. That's a woman right there. I ain't gonna cap. I like tan lines. Woo, man. Tan lines be having me feral. I be sitting there like, yeah. I be like, I need that. I'm man. Tan lines are crazy. And a lot of girls are like, oh, that's so ugly. Oh, that. And I'm like, shut up. Shut up. I love that. I love that shit. Very strong opinions about microeconomies of the developing world. Okay. Sure. I mean, I don't know. Moving on. She says, short guys. I'm 5'9" and my husband is 5'6". One of the comments said, lead me to your people. Facts. Because I'm only 5'7". I so will date a tall girl. I don't care. I will climb that mountain. You know what I mean? I climb that mountain and be like, come here, girl, give me a kiss. Like, hey, man, I ain't discriminatory towards this shit. Where my tall women's at? Where you at? Let me see. Just the way a girl looks when she wakes up in the morning. You know, yes. Weirdly, yes. Yes. When you've lived with a girl for a while and, you know, you just find your girl just adorable. You're just like, anything that she does, she's just adorable and stuff like that. I just can't stand how cute it is, like when a girl first wakes up and, you know, she's just like, you know, she's trying to figure out where she's at. It's just the cutest look on their face. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. They just look so cute though. Like they're just waking up and they're just like, and they haven't opened their eyes yet, but their head's moving around. You know, they're like a little tiny kitten and the eyes haven't opened up yet and they're just looking around. And I just think that's cute. I ain't gonna lie to you. My man's is right on that one. And I guarantee you there's a lot of guys that are just like, yeah, that's true. My girl be doing that. I like that. That shit's cute. And the girls are probably just like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? Why is that attractive? Hey, I don't know why. It's cute. It just is. I find it attractive when girls have big front teeth and have basically a cute rabbit face. I ain't gonna lie to you. Back in the day, I used to find that cute. Back in the day, bro, I used to find that cute. I used to be like, damn. Oh, I remember back when I was like in elementary school, man. There was this girl. Her name was Mandy. She had buck teeth like a motherfucker, but I was into it. I was like, that is my girlfriend. I am all about her. Man. I remember I told her I liked her and we dated for 2 days. That was cool, man. I was just like, oh, I felt like I was on top of the world. I was like, I'm dating the hottest girl ever. You know, hey, it'd be like that sometimes. You know what I mean? Hey, this is my man. He said, girls' stomachs. He's like, I go crazy over it. Facts, my guy. Facts. That midriff be looking nice. I'd be like, yeah. I want that. Blow raspberries in it. Some scars. Okay. Sure. I want to say this is a female to a guy. Because I don't know any dudes that look at a girl and be like, yeah, I like her scars. You know what I mean? But I know for girls, a guy with scars is kind of attractive. So, yeah, that makes sense. It's got to be a girl. It's got to be. I love a big nose on a woman, especially a Roman nose. Okay. All right. To each its own. You know what I mean? I know there's some girls out there that got some schnozzes. You be like, yo, like you look at them straight on, right? Nose looks normal. It's fine. And then they turn to the side and it's like, boom. And you're like, yo, damn, girl. You're looking like Toucan Sam out in this bitch. Like, damn. Hey, if you got a big nose, though, it's all good. We love you. It's all we'd still smash. Shit. Don't change your nose for nothing, girl. I've noticed most of the girls I find attractive have big/tall foreheads, or like most of their facial features are in the bottom 2/3 of their face. I'm not sure why. I wonder if a part of me thinks that a small forehead people have little brains or something, but I couldn't tell you. It's just something I've noticed that I'm drawn to over the years. Huh. You know, I've never really looked at the foreheads of the girls that I've dated. Yeah, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I feel like I have a big forehead. You know, I got like a four. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. I'm in the definition of forehead. You know what I mean? Like I'm 4 fingers for all you audio listeners. Yeah, like I got that 4-finger forehead. You know what I mean? But it's all good. You know, I just got a big brain, you know what I mean? You know what they say about big forehead, you know, big brain, you know what I mean? Come on now. Girls who are able to be nerdy about things and go into a huge amount of detail about their hobbies, whatever they are. Listening to a girl go on passionately about their interests just makes my heart melt and makes me want to get to know them more. Facts. There ain't nothing sexier than a girl who's got hobbies and she actually knows what she's talking about with those hobbies. Oh my, I'm like, baby, teach me something. You know what I mean? Facts. Like there's a lot of girls that guys meet that they have no substance to them. And they just don't talk about anything. You're like, oh, you know, what do you like to do? I like to hang out with my friends. I like to go to the beach. I go to the mall. I go shopping, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, you don't like to do anything? They're like, no, I'm just on like Instagram. And, you know, I'll just go over to my friend's house, whatever. And you're just like, oh, my God. That's sadly a lot of girls that, you know, guys interact with. And I get it. You're probably sitting there like, oh, well, that's the hot, dumb girl, blah, blah, blah. I understand that 100%. But there are some girls who just, they have hobbies and they like won't shut up about the hobbies. And you're just like, oh my God, yes. That's what I'm talking about. Like ladies out there, if you got some hobbies, if you're, you know, if you have like a dope ass, what is that game called? Animal Crossing, there it goes. If you got a dope island on Animal Crossing, or you know you're like an avid Sims player, or you just love tinkering with Legos, or you have a whole like D&D set or something, or you like Pokemon, I don't know, whatever it is, like don't be afraid to have hobbies, man. Guys find that shit hot. We do. And it sucks because there are so many girls who kind of like grift and they'll like they'll like pretend that they're into video games, or they'll pretend like they're into Star Wars, or they'll pretend like they're into Legos and shit like that, you know, to like try to get dudes' attention and stuff like that. I hate that so much because the girls who are actually into that stuff, it takes away from them, you know. And for me, a lot of times, if a girl is into something and she doesn't go heavy into detail into it, I'm like, you're not into that. You're a grifter. That's exactly how I look at that. Because a girl who is actually into these things, oh, she's going to go into mad detail and she won't shut up about it. But if she's just like, oh, I like video games. You know, I like to play Pokemon or something. I don't, you know what I mean? If they're just like naming off shit that they think a guy would like, I'm like, yeah, no, you ain't into that. Because the girls who are actually into that, they're gonna be like, oh my God, I love playing video games. There's this game that I play, blah blah blah. Like I love playing The Sims. Like that's my favorite game. They won't even say they like playing video games. They will just actually name the game that they like to play. That's a big thing. If a girl says, oh, I like to play video games, you don't. Nah, you're a grifter. But because the real girls who are actually into games, they will tell you exactly right off the bat what games that they play. They'll be like, oh my God, I'm in The Sims and I made my girl character and I got married to this guy and then our house burned down and I was like, oh my God, and I blamed him and then we got divorced. And you know what I mean? They'll just go all into it. Like facts. Have hobbies, please. We love that. Not me, but my friend. She told me basically drooled every time she saw my calves. I have big calves. I grew up fat, so I guess I have that going for me. Okay. I didn't know big calves. I always knew forearms were a thing. You know, girl liked big, veiny forearms. I know girls like hands. I didn't know they liked calves, though. You know, because I know girls like thighs. I know that. I've had a lot of female friends that are just like, oh my God, his calves are sexy. And I'm like, yo, really? Like, damn. You know what I mean? Or not calves, I'm sorry, thighs. They're like, oh my God, his because I've never heard the calves, though, thing. I've never heard that one. I've only heard like thighs, forearms, and hands. And occasionally like biceps and stuff like that. But I think biceps are only really for like the dudes who like really got like big biceps, you know. But other than that, like forearms, like and honestly, a lot of times they don't have to be vain or like big. They just have to be veiny. You know, if your forearms are veiny, they're like, yeah, that's sexy. And, you know, if you got big hands, because they're like, if you got big hands, you got big feet, and you got big feet, you got a big shoe. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Hey, calves. I guess so. I actually prefer a more normal look for a girl to a hot date look. I think sweatshirts / sweatpants versus dress. I suppose it feels like they are more comfortable with me in the first, and that's what I want out of a relationship. Look, I mean, on a date, they're gonna get dressed up regardless. Let's be honest here. That's just what that is. But I get it. Like when you guys are dating, you know, you're like, she doesn't have to get dressed up. Like if we're dating already, that's my girlfriend. You know, you can just kind of dress comfortable and casual and all that kind of stuff. Cause me, I'm a big fucking ponytail lover. All right. I love when girls put their hair in a ponytail. I think it's so relaxed. I think it's sexy. It shows more of your face. And I'm about it. I love that shit. Especially if you're the type of girl who like put your hair up in a ponytail and you still have like the little bangs and stuff. Oh my baby Jesus. Oh my God. Let me cook for you. I'm just saying. I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, damn, that's nice. And then like when they're in the gym and they like have the ponytail and they're wearing a hat and then the little ponytail kind of sticks out of like the little back part of the hat. Oh my baby Jesus. I'd be sitting there like, I like that. I won't mow it at. You know what I mean? Like damn, son. Damn. All right. When girls show their messy side, messy hair, too big hoodie and sweatpants, some stains of sauces or whatever on it, no makeup. Okay, the stains and sauces, that's a little weird. I don't know what's going on with that, brother. Come on now. That's a little too far. I think if a girl shows you that side of her, it's the biggest proof of trust and love. You know, facts. I just think like, I just like when a girl's comfortable. You know what I mean? When she's just wearing comfy clothes, she's having a good time. You know, you guys laughing and giggling. I do also think like another good indicator that a girl is comfortable around you is when she fucking eats. like, and I'm talking eats. Like, you know, she out here like, yo, let me get the ribs, and you like, yeah, you eat ribs, girl. Damn. She like, damn right. And she finishes the whole half rack, and you're like, huh. Yeah, you getting some penis tonight, girl. God damn. I'm just saying. Girls, I got a bit of an appetite on them. Yeah. Because I remember the first time that me and my ex-fiance, I remember we went to Chili's. We were dating at this time, and we were probably a couple months in or whatever. This girl ordered like a whole platter of different things. It was like wings. There were like the little slider bites thingies. And then there were like egg rolls on there. And then she had like another plate of like something else. And I was like, damn, girl. I was like, you gonna eat all that? And she was just like, I'm gonna try. She's like, I didn't know what I wanted to get like a little bit of everything because everything looks so good. And to me, Oh, I was like, I fell in love with her that day. I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. A girl who is not afraid to just kind of eat and be herself and just enjoy it. I think that's not really prevalent anymore with girls. I think girls have kind of gotten the hint, like, all right, we don't have to just eat fucking salads and shit like that on dates. I think more than not, girls are actually ordering food, which I appreciate. And I think a lot of other guys appreciate that shit too. You know? Really, when men cry, I know it's a vulnerable state, and I know that some men find it hard to express those emotions because of stereotypes and being told to man up and things. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes, yeah, I feel like sometimes you can cry in front of your girl. I don't know if women find that attractive though. You know what I mean? Like I think it's situational. I do. I think it's situational. If it's a thing where it's like, it's actually a sad moment, like we're putting down a dog, or like a family member has passed away, or, you know, when like, you're simply like, I don't know, just like really impactful moments and stuff like that. I feel like, yeah, a girl would find that attractive in that fact that she cried. But I don't think a girl would find it attractive if you're just like, oh my God, I'm just having a hard day. I can't believe it. Like, the day is just not working with me. I think she would just look at you like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I had a hard day too, and you don't see me crying about it. You know, I really think it's situational. And I'm not trying to say that to like make girls seem like they don't have a heart or whatever. I just think that realistically, a girl would look at it like, dude, you're sitting here crying and bawling your eyes out just because you had a hard day. Like, I had a hard day too. You don't see me crying. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just, and then the same thing with like breakups. Like, if a girl breaks up with you and then you start crying, oh, bro, she ain't gonna find you attractive over that. Nah, she gonna talk mad shit about you. You know what I mean? I've seen it way too many times. And this hasn't been just to like, oh no, that's every once in a while. Nah, man, that's like almost all the time. Like, anytime a dude cries because a girl broke up with him, like, or he's crying for her back, like I said, I don't think that's attractive crying, bro. I just don't think it is. Again, you could be against me on that, but I just don't think that is attractive crying. I think that's a thing where the girl kind of is like, ick. Like, why are you crying? Get the fuck out of here. I broke up with you. You know, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to make women seem like they're bad or anything, but it's just, it just seems more of the reality of it. All right. The strong-willed, quiet, confident, professional type women, they often get called bitchy because they don't play the office politics game. The type that if they were a guy, they'd be called a go-getter. I'm not talking the loud and obnoxious, I'm a bad bitch, that's just too real for just people. But the professional that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in their given profession. That and athletic shoulders. This motherfucker. He's like, yeah, I like me some broad shoulder women, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah, I like, don't get me wrong. I think a woman that is like good at what she does, it can be very attractive. 100%. A woman that is good at what she does, you know what I mean? She goes to work and, you know, she's got her shit together. That can be sexy. 100%. I think it's more sexy when a man is like that than when a woman is like that. But I do understand where he's coming from in that, because there's some times where even like I look at it like, damn, that she's like good at something. Like, for me, if a woman has musical talent, oh, that turns me on. I'm like, yo, I like that. You know what I mean? Because it shows that she has like the patience and the practice and the dedication to like put that time into something. So I know that she's going to be like that with our relationship. You know what I mean? She's going to treat our relationship the same way that she treated learning that instrument or learning, you know, whatever it is, her job, or, you know, because she's like, I'm putting my all into this, you know, because in order to learn an instrument or learn a language or learn anything, you have to put your all into it. Yeah, you have to, or else you're not going to learn it. You're not going to be good at it. That's just the way things go. And so when I see that in a woman, I'm like, yes, that is the type of woman that's going to put her all into something, instead of like a girl that's, just kind of half-assing a lot of shit, and she's just getting by in life, and, she's just floating through the ether, and you know what I mean? She's just basing everything off of crystals and star signs, it's just like, that's why those girls aren't attractive to guys, all right. I'll probably do two more. I think a one-piece bathing suit is hotter than a two-piece. Really? I wonder why you say. Now see, look, me, I'm a midriff guy, so that's why I like the two-piece. But I wonder what would be appealing about a one-piece suit. I don't know. I can't find anything appealing about a one-piece bathing suit, to be honest with you. Like the bikini is iconic for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get the whole thong bikinis though. I don't get that. I really don't. I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying don't wear them. I'm just saying I just don't get it. I like the normal like bikini look on the buttocks, but hey, if you want your butt cheeks hanging out in public, do your thing. Do your thing, like whatever. All right, this is gonna be our last one. I love moles. I think they're really attractive, as well as someone who's very smart. There's something about it. Moles, huh? That's surprising. I wonder what would be so attractive about moles. You know what I mean? Like what? I understand like beauty marks. I remember, a lot of times back when Eva Mendes was like the hot thing. That was probably in the time when she was like in the movie Hitch. She was in the Ghost Rider movies. She was in a couple other movies, but I remember Eva Mendes around that time. She had a beauty mark like right above her lip. And the men went feral over that shit. They were like, yo, it was just an iconic thing with her look. You know what I mean? Obviously she's got that beautiful caramel skin, and, she's really pretty facial feature wise, but you ask a lot of guys who knew Eva Mendes in that like time period, and a lot of them would be like, yeah, that beauty mark was sexy. It's weird, but it's the truth. So maybe that's what it is for him. Like, that's why he likes moles. So I don't know. But that's going to be the end of that thread. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what is something that you find attractive that isn't a normally attractive thing. You guys let me know down in the comments. Get involved down there. I'd love to hear your opinions, because I love when you guys bounce your opinions off and when you guys, challenge my opinions, whatever the case may be. But yeah. Love that shit. I'm going to hop into announcements real quick, and then we'll get into chapters 25 and 26 of According Thorns and Roses. Patreon.com/MyAssholePodcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenario to be featured on Tuesday and Sunday shows. Get on that Patreon, man. A year's worth of content over there, just waiting for you guys. Just waiting for you guys to just salivate on that stuff. You love what we're doing over here, man. On the free 99 shows, you're going to definitely love what we got going on over there, all right? Audio listeners, keep downloading the podcast as well as rating it 5 stars. It helps out a lot. I do appreciate all the support that you guys show regardless. If you want to help on the free 99 side of things even more, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, as well as YouTube. It does help out a lot, and it's free, baby. It's free. And I got a shit ton of content over on the TikTok and the Instagram. So again, if you want to see the audio and visual, because I do the video on YouTube, I do the video and I do an audio version of it over there. So that way you guys have the best of both worlds. And if you're a Spotify person, that's cool too. You could do that as well. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm just giving you guys options. But yeah, you know what I mean? So subscribe to us on the YouTube. Even if you are an audio listener, like if you're primarily an audio listener, you can still listen to just the audio. I have all the episodes audioed out over there on YouTube just for you. So that way you guys can just listen to the audio. So if you're the type of person, you have like YouTube Red, or I think that's what it's called, YouTube Red, the subscription thing for YouTube where you can like listen to a video and you can close out your phone as well. Yeah, I have all the audios over there, so check it out. The links are all in the description. I have all the playlist links down there as well. Catch your boy streaming over on Kick and Twitch. I'm going to start streaming on YouTube as well. If you want to check out our first stream that we had, I believe on Friday of last week, go ahead and check that out. It was a pretty big success. I'm still working on like how to stream. It was my very first time like streaming video games, and you know, it was cool. It was a vibe. You know, we were chilling, playing some Black Myth Wukong, watching me get my ass whooped. You know, but it was a good game. You know, I did all of chapter 1. I'm probably gonna go back and fight some other of the like side hidden bosses and stuff like that. So we might go back and do that. But yeah, you know, it's a vibe over there. Go over there and check us out, man. I'm gonna try to go live every Friday, Sunday, and Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to check that out, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. And yeah. So without further ado, though, let's go ahead and get into chapters 25 and 26 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I'll move you guys over right now.
Chapter 25. Tamlin was called away to one of the borders hours after I found that head. Where and why, he wouldn't tell me. But I sensed enough from what he didn't say. The blight was indeed crawling from other courts, directly toward ours. He stayed the night, the first he'd ever spent away, but sent Lucian to inform me that he was alive. Lucian had emphasized that last word enough that I slept terribly, even as a small part of me marveled that Tamlin had bothered to let me know about his well-being. I knew I was headed down a path that would likely end in my mortal heart being left in pieces, and yet I couldn't stop myself. I hadn't been able to since that day with the Naga. But seeing that head, the games these courts played, with people's lives as tokens on a board, it was an effort to keep food down whenever I thought about it. Yet, despite the creeping malice, I awoke the next day to the sound of merry fiddling, and when I looked out the window, I found the garden bedecked in ribbons and streamers. On the distant hills, I spied the makings of fires and maypoles being raised. When I asked Alice, whose people I'd learned were called the Urisk, she simply said, "Summer solstice. The main celebration used to be at the summer court, but things are different. So now we have one here, too. You're going." Summer. In the weeks that I'd been painting and dining with Tamlin and wandering the courtlands at his side, summer had come. Did my family still truly believe me to be visiting some long-lost aunt? What were they doing with themselves? If it was the solstice, then there would be a small gathering in the village center. Nothing religious, of course, though the children of the blessed might wander in to try to convert the young people. Just some shared food, donated ale from the solitary tavern, and maybe some line dances. The only thing to celebrate was a day's break from the long summer days of planting and tilling. From the decorations around the estate, I could tell this would be something far grander, far more spirited. Tamlin remained gone for most of the day. Worry gnawed at me even as I painted a quick, loose rendering of the streamers and ribbons in the garden. Perhaps it was petty and selfish, given the returning blight, but I also quietly hoped that the solstice didn't require the same rites as Fire Night. I didn't let myself think too much about what I would do if Tamlin had a flock of beautiful fairies lining up for him. It wasn't until late afternoon that I heard Tamlin's deep voice and Lucian's braying laugh echo through the halls all the way up to my painting room. Relief sent my chest caving in, but as I rushed to find them, Alice yanked me upstairs. She stripped off my paint-splattered clothes and insisted I change into a flowing cornflower blue chiffon gown. She left my hair unbound, but wove a garland of pink, white, and blue wildflowers around the crown of my head. I might have felt childish with it on, but in the months I'd been there, my sharp bones and skeletal form had filled out. A woman's body. I ran my hands over the sweeping, soft curves of my waist and hips. I had never thought I would feel anything but muscle and bone. "Cauldron boil me," Lucian whistled as I came down the stairs. "She looks positively fey." I was too busy looking Tamlin over, scanning for any injury, any sign of blood or mark that the blight might have left, to thank Lucian for the compliment. But Tamlin was clean, almost glowing, completely unharmed, and smiling at me. Whatever he'd gone to deal with had left him unscathed. "You look lovely," Tamlin murmured, and something in his soft tone made me want to purr. I squared my shoulders, disinclined to let him see how much his words or voice or sheer well-being impacted me. Not yet. "I'm surprised I'm even allowed to participate tonight." "Unfortunately for you and your neck," Lucian countered, "tonight's just a party." "Do you lie awake at night to come up with all your witty replies for the following day?" Lucian winked at me, and Tamlin laughed and offered me his arm. "He's right," the High Lord said. I was aware of every inch where we touched, of the hard muscles beneath his green tunic. He led me into the garden, and Lucian followed. "Solstice celebrates when day and night are equal. It's a time of neutrality, when everyone can take down their hair and simply enjoy being a fairy. Not high fae or fairy, just us, and nothing else. So there's singing and dancing and excessive drinking," Lucian chimed in, falling into step beside me. "And dallying," he added with a wicked grin. Indeed, every brush of Tamlin's body against mine made it harder to avoid the urge to lean into him entirely, to smell him and touch him and taste him. Whether he noticed the heat singeing my neck and face, or heard my uneven heartbeat, he revealed nothing, holding my arm tighter as we walked out of the garden and into the fields beyond. The sun was beginning its final descent when we reached the plateau on which the festivities were to be held. I tried not to gawk at the fairies gathered, even as I was in turn gawked at by them. I'd never seen so many in one place before, at least not without the glamour hiding them from me. Now that my eyes were open to the sight, the exquisite dresses and lithe forms that were shaped and colored and built so strangely and differently were a marvel to behold. Yet what little novelty my own presence by the High Lord's side offered soon wore off, helped by a low, warning growl from Tamlin that sent the others scattering to mind their own business. Table after table of food had been lined up along the far edge of the plateau, and I lost Tamlin while I waited in line to fill a plate, leaving me to try my best not to look like I was some human plaything of his. Music started near the giant smoking bonfire, fiddles and drums and merry instruments that had me tapping my feet in the grass. Light and joyous and open, the mirthful sister to the bloodthirsty fire night. Lucian, of course, excelled at disappearing when I needed him, and so I ate my fill of strawberry shortcake, apple tart, and blueberry pie. No different from summer treats in the mortal realm, alone beneath a sycamore covered with silken lanterns and sparkling ribbons. I didn't mind the solitude, not when I was busy contemplating the way the lanterns and ribbons shone, the shadows they cast. Perhaps it would be my next painting. Or maybe I would paint the ethereal fairies beginning to dance. Such angles and colors to them. I wondered if any of them had been the subjects of the painters whose work was displayed in the gallery. I moved, only to get myself something to drink. The plateau became more crowded as the sun sank toward the horizon. Across the hills, other bonfires and parties began, their music filtering through the occasional pause in ours. I was pouring myself a goblet of golden sparkling wine when Lucian finally appeared behind me, peering over my shoulder. "I wouldn't drink that if I were you." "Oh?" I said, frowning at the fizzing liquid. "Berry wine at the solstice," Lucian hinted. I said, taking a sniff. It didn't reek of alcohol. In fact, it smelled like summers spent lying in the grass and bathing in cool pools. I'd never smelled anything so fantastic. "I'm serious," Lucian said as I lifted the glass to my lips, my brows raised. "Remember the last time you ignored my warning?" He poked me in the neck, and I batted his hand away. "I also remember you telling me how witchberries were harmless, and the next thing I knew I was half delirious and falling all over myself," I said, recalling the afternoon from a few weeks ago. I'd had hallucinations for hours afterward, and Lucian had laughed himself sick, enough so that Tamlin had chucked him into the reflection pool. I shook away the thought. Today, just for today, I would indeed let my hair down. Today, let caution be damned. Forget the blight hovering at the edges of the court, threatening my High Lord and his lands. Where was Tamlin, anyway? If there had been some threat, surely Lucian would have known. Surely they would have called off the celebration. "Well, I mean it this time," Lucian said, and I shifted my goblet out of his reach. "Tam would gut me if he caught you drinking that." "Always looking after your best interests," I said, and pointedly chugged the contents of the glass. It was like a million fireworks exploding inside me, filling my veins with starlight. I laughed aloud, and Lucian groaned. "Human fool," he hissed. But his glamour had been ripped away. His auburn hair burned like hot metal, and his russet eye smoldered like a bottomless forge. That was what I would capture next. "I'm going to paint you," I said, and giggled, actually giggled as the words popped out. "Cauldron, boil and fry me," he muttered, and I laughed again. Before he could stop me, I downed another glass of fairy wine. It was the most glorious thing I'd ever tasted. It liberated me from bonds I hadn't known existed. The music became a siren song. The melody was my lodestone, and I was powerless against its lure. With each step, I savored the dampness of the grass beneath my bare feet. I didn't remember when I'd lost my shoes. The sky was an eddy of molten amethyst, sapphire, and ruby, all bleeding into a final pool of onyx. I wanted to swim in it, wanted to bathe in its colors and feel the stars twinkling between my fingers. I stumbled, blinking, and found myself standing at the edge of the ring of dancing. A cluster of musicians played their fairy instruments, and I swayed on my feet as I watched the fairies dancing, circling the bonfire. Not formal dancing. It was like they were as loose as I was, free. I loved them for it. "Damn it, Feyre," Lucian said, gripping my elbow. "Do you want me to kill myself trying to keep you from impaling your mortal hide on another rock?" "What?" I said, turning to him. The whole world spun with me, delightful and entrancing. "Idiot," he said when he looked at my face. "Drunken idiot." The tempo increased. I wanted to be in the music, wanted to ride its speed and weave between its notes. I could feel the music around me like a living, breathing thing of wonder and joy and beauty. "Feyre, stop," Lucian said, and grabbed me again. I'd been dancing away, and my body was still swaying toward the pull of the sound. "You stop. Stop being so serious," I said, shaking him off. I wanted to hear the music, wanted to hear it hot off the instruments. Lucian swore as I burst into movement. I skipped between the dancers, twirling my skirts. The seated, masked musicians didn't look up at me as I leaped before them, dancing in place. No chains, no boundaries, just me and the music, dancing and dancing. I wasn't a fairy, but I was a part of this earth, and the earth was a part of me, and I would be content to dance upon it for the rest of my life. One of the musicians looked up from his fiddling, and I halted. Sweat gleamed on the strong column of his neck as he rested his chin upon the dark wood of the fiddle. He'd rolled up the sleeves of his shirt, revealing the cords of muscle along his forearms. He had once mentioned that he would have liked to be a traveling minstrel if not a warrior or a high lord. Now, hearing him play, I knew he could have made a fortune from it. "I'm sorry, Tam," Lucian panted, appearing from nowhere. "I left her alone for a little at one of the food tables, and when I caught up to her, she was drinking the wine and—" Tamlin didn't pause in his playing. His golden hair damp with sweat, he looked marvelously handsome, even though I couldn't see most of his face. He gave me a feral smile as I began to dance in place before him. "I'll look after her," Tamlin murmured above the music, and I glowed, my dancing becoming faster. "Go enjoy yourself." Lucian fled. I shouted over the music. "I don't need a keeper." I wanted to spin and spin and spin. "No, you don't," Tamlin said, never once stumbling over his playing. How his bow did dance upon the strings, his fingers sturdy and strong, no signs of those claws that I had come to stop fearing. "Dance, Feyre," he whispered. So I did. I was loosened, a top whirling around and around, and I didn't know who I danced with or what they looked like, only that I had become the music and the fire and the night, and there was nothing that could slow me down. Through it all, Tamlin and his musicians played such joyous music that I didn't think the world could contain it all. I sashayed over to him, my fairy lord, my protector and warrior, my friend, and danced before him. He grinned at me, and I didn't break my dancing as he rose from his seat and knelt before me in the grass, offering up a solo on his fiddle to me. Music just for me. A gift. He played on, his fingers fast and hard upon the strings of his fiddle. My body slithered like a snake. I tipped my head back to the heavens and let Tamlin's music fill all of me. There was a pressure at my waist, and I was swept away in someone's arms as they whisked me back into the ring of dancing. I laughed so hard I thought I'd combust, and when I opened my eyes, I found Tamlin there, spinning me round and round. Everything became a blur of color and sound, and he was the only object in it, tethering me to sanity, to my body, which glowed and burned in every place he touched. I was filled with sunshine. It was like I'd never experienced summer before, like I'd never known who was waiting to emerge from that forest of ice and snow. I didn't want it to end. I never wanted to leave this hilltop. The music came to a close, and gasping for breath, I glanced at the moon. It was near setting. Sweat slid down every part of my body. Tamlin, panting as well, took my hand. "Time goes faster when you're drunk on fairy wine." "I'm not drunk," I said, snorting. He only chuckled and led me from the dancing. I dug my heels into the ground as we neared the edge of the firelight. "They're starting again," I said. pointing to the dancers gathering before the refreshed musicians. He leaned close, his breath caressing the shell of my ear as he whispered, "I want to show you something better." I stopped objecting. He led me off the hill, navigating his way by moonlight. Whatever path he chose, he did so out of consideration for my bare feet, for only soft grass cushioned my steps. Soon, even the music faded away, replaced by the sighing of trees in the night breeze. "Here," Tamlin said, pausing at the edge of a vast meadow. His hand lingered on my shoulder as we looked out. The high grasses moved like water as the last of the moonlight danced upon them. "What is it?" I breathed, but he put a finger to his lips and beckoned me to look. For a few minutes, there was nothing. Then, from the opposite side of the meadow, dozens of shimmering shapes floated out across the grass, little more than mirages of moonlight. That was when the singing began. It was a collective voice, but in it existed both male and female, two sides of the same coin, singing to each other in a call and response. I raised a hand to my throat as their music rose and they danced. Ghostly and ethereal, they waltzed across the field, no more than slender slants of moonlight. "What are they?" "Will-o'-the-wisps, spirits of air and light," he said softly. "Come to celebrate the solstice." "They're beautiful." His lips grazed my neck as he murmured against my skin, "Dance with me, Feyre." "Really?" I turned and found my face mere inches from his. He cracked a lazy smile. "Really?" As though I were nothing but air myself, he pulled me into a sweeping dance. I barely remembered any of the steps I'd learned in childhood, but he compensated for it with his feral grace, never faltering, always sensing any stumble before I made it as we danced across the spirit-riddled field. I was as unburdened as a piece of dandelion fluff, and he was the wind that stirred me about the world. He smiled at me, and I found myself smiling back. I didn't need to pretend, didn't need to be anything but what I was right then, being twirled about the meadow, the will-o'-the-wisps dancing around us like dozens of moons. Our dancing slowed, and we stood there, holding each other as we swayed to the songs of the spirits. He rested his chin upon my head and stroked my hair, his fingers grazing the bare skin of my neck. "Feyre," he whispered onto my head. He made my name sound beautiful. "Feyre," he whispered again, not in question, but simply as if he enjoyed saying it. As quickly as they'd appeared, the spirits vanished, taking their music with them. I blinked. The stars were fading, and the sky had turned grayish-purple. Tamlin's face was inches from my own. "It's almost dawn." I nodded, mesmerized by the sight of him, the smell and feel of him holding me. I reached up to touch his mask. It was so cold, despite how flushed his skin was just beyond it. My hand shook, and my breathing became shallow as I grazed the skin of his jaw. It was smooth and hot. He wet his lips, his breathing as uneven as my own. His fingers contracted against the plane of my lower back, and I let him tug me closer to him, until our bodies were touching, and the warmth of him seeped into me. I had to tilt my head back to see his face. His mouth was caught somewhere between a smile and a wince. "What?" I asked, and put a hand on his chest, preparing to shove myself back. But his other hand slipped under my hair, resting at the base of my neck. "I'm thinking I might kiss you," he said quietly, intently. "Then do it." I blushed at my own boldness. But Tamlin only gave that breathy laugh and leaned in. His lips brushed mine, testing, soft and warm. He pulled back a little. He was still staring at me, and I stared right back as he kissed me again, harder, but nothing like the way he'd kissed my neck. He withdrew more fully this time and watched me. "That's it?" I demanded, and he laughed and kissed me fiercely. My hands went around his neck, pulling him closer, crushing myself against him. His hands roved my back, playing in my hair, grasping my waist, as if he couldn't touch enough of me at once. He let out a low groan. "Come," he said, kissing my brow. "We'll miss it if we don't go now." "Better than will-o'-the-wisps?" I asked, but he kissed my cheeks, my neck, and finally my lips. I followed him into the trees, through the ever-lightening world. His hand was solid and unmovable around mine as we passed through the low-lying mists, and he helped me up a bare hill slick with dew. We sat atop its crest, and I hid my smile as Tamlin put an arm around my shoulder, tucking me in close. I rested my head against his chest while he toyed with the flowers in my garland. In silence, we stared out over the rolling green expanse. The sky shifted into periwinkle, and the clouds filled with pink light. Then, like a shimmering disk too rich and clear to be described, the sun slipped over the horizon and lined everything with gold. It was like seeing the world being born, and we were the sole witnesses. Tamlin's arm tightened around me, and he kissed the top of my head. I pulled back, looking up at him. The gold in his eyes, bright with the rising sun, flickered. "What?" "My father once told me that I should let my sisters imagine a better life, a better world. And I told him there was no such thing." I ran my thumb over his mouth, marveling, and shook my head. I never understood, because I couldn't believe that it was even possible. I swallowed, lowering my hand. Until now. His throat bobbed. His kiss that time was deep and thorough, unhurried and intent. I let the dawn creep inside me, let it grow with each movement of his lips and brush of his tongue against mine. Tears pricked beneath my closed eyes. It was the happiest moment of my life. Chapter 26. The next day, Lucian joined us for lunch, which was breakfast for all of us. Ever since I'd complained about the unnecessary size of the table, we'd taken to dining at a much reduced version. Lucian kept rubbing at his temples as he ate, unusually silent, and I hid my smile as I asked him, "And where were you last night?" Lucian's metal eye narrowed on me. "I'll have you know that while you two were dancing with the spirits, I was stuck on border patrol." Tamlin gave a pointed cough, and Lucian added, "With some company." He gave me a sly grin. "Rumor has it you two didn't come back until after dawn." I glanced at Tamlin, biting my lip. I'd practically floated into my bedroom that morning. But Tamlin's gaze now roved my face as if searching for any tinge of regret, of fear. Ridiculous. "You bit my neck on fire night," I said under my breath. "If I can face you after that, a few kisses are nothing." He braced his forearms on the table as he leaned closer to me. Nothing? His eyes flicked to my lips. Lucian shifted in his seat, muttering to the cauldron to spare him, but I ignored him. Nothing, I repeated a bit distantly, watching Tamlin's mouth move, so keenly aware of every movement he made, resenting the table between us. I could almost feel the warmth of his breath. "Are you sure?" he murmured, intense and hungry enough that I was glad I was sitting. He could have had me right there on top of that table. I wanted his broad hands running over my bare skin, wanted his teeth scraping against my neck, wanted his mouth all over me. "I'm trying to eat," Lucian said, and I blinked, the air whooshing out of me. "But now that I have your attention, Tamlin," he snapped, though the High Lord was looking at me again, devouring me with his eyes. I could hardly sit still, could hardly stand the clothes scratching my too hot skin. With some effort, Tamlin glanced back at his emissary. Lucian shifted in his seat. "Not to be the bearer of truly bad tidings, but my contact at the Winter Court managed to get a letter to me." Lucian took a steadying breath, and I wondered if being emissary also meant being spy master, and wondered why he was bothering to say this in my presence at all. The smile instantly faded from Tamlin's face. "The blight," Lucian said tightly, softly. "It took out 24 of their younglings. 24, all gone." He swallowed. "It just burned through their magic, then broke apart their minds. No one in the Winter Court could do anything. No one could stop it once it turned its attention toward them. Their grief is unfathomable. My contact says the other courts are being hit hard, though the Night Court, of course, manages to remain unscathed. But the blight seems to be sending its wickedness this way, farther south with every attack." All the warmth, all the sparkling joy drained from me like blood down a drain. "The blight can truly kill people?" I managed to say. "Younglings, it had killed children, like some storm of darkness and death. And if offspring were as rare as Alice had claimed, the loss of so many would be more devastating than I could imagine." Tamlin's eyes were shadowed, and he slowly shook his head, as if trying to clear the grief and shock of those deaths from him. "The blight is capable of hurting us in ways you—" He shot to his feet so quickly that his chair flipped over. He unsheathed his claws and snarled at the open doorway, canines long and gleaming. The house, usually full of whispering skirts and chatter of servants, had gone silent. Not the pregnant silence of fire night, but rather a trembling quiet that made me want to scramble under the table, or just start running. Lucian swore and drew his sword. "Get Feyre to the window, by the curtains," Tamlin growled to Lucian, not taking his eyes off the open doors. Lucian's hand gripped my elbow, dragging me out of my chair. "What's—" I started, but Tamlin growled again, the sound echoing through the room. I snatched one of the knives off the table and let Lucian lead me to the window, where he pushed me against the velvet drapes. I wanted to ask why he didn't bother hiding me behind them, but the fox-masked fairy just pressed his back into me, pinning me between him and the wall. The tang of magic shoved itself up my nostrils. Though his sword was pointed at the floor, Lucian's grip on it tightened until his knuckles turned white. Magic. A glamour. To conceal me, to make me a part of Lucian, invisible, hidden by the fairy's magic and scent. I peered over his shoulder at Tamlin, who took a long breath and sheathed his claws and fangs, his baldric of knives appearing from thin air across his chest. But he didn't draw any of the knives as he righted his chair and slouched in it, picking at his nails, as if nothing were happening. But someone was coming, someone awful enough to frighten them, someone who would want to hurt me if they knew I was here. The hissing voice of the adder slithered through my memory. There were worse creatures than it, Tamlin had told me. Worse than the Naga and the Suriel, and the bog, too. Footsteps sounded from the hall. Even, strolling, casual. Tamlin continued cleaning his nails, and in front of me, Lucian assumed a position of appearing to be looking out the window. The footsteps grew louder, the scuff of boots on marble tiles. And then he appeared. No mask. He, like the adder, belonged to something else. Someone else. And worse, I'd met him before. He'd saved me from those 3 fairies on Fire Night. With steps that were too graceful, too feline, he approached the dining table and stopped a few yards from the High Lord. He was exactly as I remembered him, with his fine, rich clothing cloaked in tendrils of night, an ebony tunic brocaded with gold and silver, dark pants and black boots that went to his knees. I'd never dared to paint him, and now knew I would never have the nerve to. "High Lord?" the stranger crooned, inclining his head slightly. Not a bow. Tamlin remained seated. With his back to me, I couldn't see his face, but Tamlin's voice was laced with the promise of violence as he said, "What do you want, Rhysand?" Rhysand smiled, heartbreaking in its beauty, and put a hand on his chest. "Rhysand? Come now, Tamlin. I don't see you for 49 years and you start calling me Rhysand? Only my prisoners and my enemies call me that." His grin widened as he finished, and something in his countenance turned feral and deadly, more so than I'd ever seen Tamlin look. Rhysand turned, and I held my breath as he ran an eye over Lucian. "A fox mask. Appropriate for you, Lucian." "Go to hell, Rhys," Lucian snapped. "Always a pleasure dealing with the rabble," Rhysand said, and faced Tamlin again. I still didn't breathe. "I hope I wasn't interrupting." "We were in the middle of lunch," Tamlin said, his voice void of the warmth to which I'd become accustomed. The voice of the High Lord. It turned my insides cold. "Stimulating," Rhysand purred. "What are you doing here, Rhys?" Tamlin demanded, still in his seat. "I wanted to check up on you. I wanted to see how you were faring, if you got my little present." "Your present was unnecessary." "But a nice reminder of the fun days, wasn't it?" Rhysand clicked his tongue and surveyed the room. "Almost half a century holed up in a country estate. I don't know how you manage it. But," he said, facing Tamlin again, "you're such a stubborn bastard that this must have seemed like a paradise compared to Under the Mountain. I suppose it is. I'm surprised, though. 49 years and no attempts to save yourself or your lands. Even now that things are getting interesting again." "There's nothing to be done," conceded Tamlin, his voice low. Rhysand approached Tamlin, each movement smooth as silk. His voice dropped into a whisper, an erotic caress of sound that brought heat to my cheeks. "What a pity that you must endure the brunt of it, Tamlin, and an even greater pity that you're so resigned to your fate. You might be stubborn, but this is pathetic. How different the High Lord is from the brutal warband leader of centuries ago." Lucian interrupted, And what do you know about anything? You're just Amarantha's whore. Her whore I might be, but not without my reasons. I flinched as his voice whetted itself into an edge. At least I haven't bided my time among the hedges and flowers while the world has gone to hell. Lucian's sword rose slightly. If you think that's all I've been doing, you'll soon learn otherwise. Little Lucian, you certainly gave them something to talk about when you switched to spring. Such a sad thing to see your lovely mother in perpetual mourning over losing you. Lucian pointed his sword at Rhysand. Watch your filthy mouth. Rhysand laughed, a lover's laugh, low and soft and intimate. Is that any way to speak to a High Lord of Prythian? My heart stopped dead. That was why those fairies had run off on Fire Night. To cross him would have been suicide. And from the way darkness seemed to ripple from him, from those violet eyes that burned like stars. Come now, Tamlin, Rhysand said. Shouldn't you reprimand your lackey for speaking to me like that? I don't enforce rank in my court, Tamlin said. Still? Rhysand crossed his arms. But it's so entertaining when they grovel. I suppose your father never bothered to show you. This isn't the Night Court, Lucian hissed, and you have no power here, so clear out. Amarantha's bed is growing cold. I tried not to breathe too loudly. Rhysand, he'd been the one to send that head, as a gift. I flinched. Was the Night Court where this woman, this Amarantha, was located too? Rhysand snickered, but then he was upon Lucian, too fast for me to follow with my human eyes, growling in his face. Lucian pressed me into the wall with his back, hard enough that I stifled a cry as I was squished against the wood. I was slaughtering on the battlefield before you were even born, Rhysand snarled. Then as quickly as he had come, he withdrew, casual and careless. No, I would never dare to paint that dark, immortal grace, not in 100 years. Besides, he said, stuffing his hands into his pockets, who do you think taught your beloved Tamlin the finer aspects of swords and females? You can't truly believe he learned everything in his father's little war camps. Tamlin rubbed his temples. Save it for another time, Rhys. You'll see me soon enough. Rhysand meandered toward the door. She's already preparing for you. Given your current state, I think I can safely report that you've already been broken and will reconsider her offer. Lucian's breath hitched as Rhysand passed the table. The High Lord of the Night Court ran a finger along the back of my chair, a casual gesture. I'm looking forward to seeing your face when you... Rhysand studied the table. Lucian went stick straight, pressing me harder against the wall. The table was still set for 3, my half-eaten plate of food sitting right before him. Where's your guest? Rhysand asked, lifting my goblet and sniffing it before setting it down again. I sent them off when I sensed your arrival, Tamlin lied coolly. Rhysand now faced the High Lord, and his perfect face was void of emotion before his brows rose. A flicker of excitement, perhaps even disbelief, flashed across his features, but he whipped his head to Lucian. Magic seared my nostrils, and I stared at Rhysand in undiluted terror as his face contorted with rage. You dare glamour me? He growled, his violet eyes burning as they bore into my own. Lucian just pressed me harder into the wall. Tamlin's chair groaned as it was shoved back. He rose, claws at the ready, deadlier than any of the knives strapped to him. Rhysand's face became a mask of calm fury as he stared and stared at me. "I remember you," he purred. "It seems like you ignored my warning to stay out of trouble." He turned to Tamlin. "Who, pray tell, is your guest?" "My betrothed," Lucien answered. "Oh? Here I was, thinking you still mourned your commoner lover after all these centuries," Rhysand said, stalking toward me. The sunlight didn't gleam on the metallic threads of his tunic, as if it balked from the darkness pulsing from him. Lucien spat at Rhysand's feet and shoved his sword between us. Rhysand's venom-coated smile grew. "You draw blood from me, Lucien, and you'll learn how quickly Amarantha's whore can make the entire Autumn Court bleed, especially its darling lady." The color leached from Lucien's face, but he held his ground. It was Tamlin who answered. "Put your sword down, Lucien." Rhysand ran an eye over me. "I knew you liked to stoop low with your lovers, Lucien, but I never thought you'd actually dabble with mortal trash." My face burned. Lucien was trembling, with rage or fear or sorrow, I couldn't tell. "The lady of the Autumn Court will be grieved indeed when she hears of her youngest son. If I were you, I'd keep your new pet well away from your father." "Leave, Rhys," Tamlin commanded, standing a few feet behind the High Lord of the Night Court. And yet he didn't make a move to attack, despite the claws, despite Rhysand still approaching me. Perhaps a battle between two High Lords could tear this manor to its foundations and leave only dust in its wake. Or perhaps, if Rhysand was indeed this woman's lover, the retaliation from hurting him would be too great, especially with the added burden of facing the blight. Rhysand brushed Lucien aside as if he were a curtain. There was nothing between us now, and the air was sharp and cold. But Tamlin remained where he was, and Lucien didn't so much as blink as Rhysand, with horrific gentleness, pried the knife from my hands and sent it scattering across the room. "That won't do you any good anyway," Rhysand said to me. "If you were wise, you would be screaming and running from this place, from these people. It's a wonder that you're still here, actually." My confusion must have been written across my face, for Rhysand laughed loudly. "Oh, she doesn't know, does she?" I trembled, unable to find words or courage. "You have seconds, Rhys," Tamlin warned. "Seconds to get out. If I were you, I wouldn't speak to me like that." Against my volition, my body straightened, every muscle going taut, my bones straining. Magic, but deeper than that. Power that seized everything inside me and took control. Even my blood flowed where he willed it. I couldn't move. An invisible talon-tipped hand scraped against my mind, and I knew. One push, one swipe of those mental claws, and who I was would cease to exist. "Let her go," Tamlin said, bristling, but didn't advance forward. A kind of panic had entered his eyes, and he glanced from me to Rhysand. "Enough!" I'd forgotten that human minds are as easy to shatter as eggshells, Rhysand said, and ran a finger across the base of my throat. I shuddered, my eyes burning. "Look at how delightful she is! Look how she's trying not to cry out in terror! It would be quick, I promise." Had I retained any semblance of control over my body, I might have vomited. She has the most delicious thoughts about you, Tamlin, he said. She's wondered about the feeling of your fingers on her thighs. Between them, too. He chuckled. Even as he said my most private thoughts, even as I burned with outrage and shame, I trembled at the grip still on my mind. Rhys turned to the High Lord. I'm curious. Why did she wonder if it would feel good to have you bite her breast the way you bit her neck? Let her go. Tamlin's face was twisted with such feral rage that it struck a different, deeper chord of terror in me. If it's any consolation, Rhys confided to him, she would have been the one for you. And you might have gotten away with it. A bit late, though. She's more stubborn than you are. Those invisible claws lazily caressed my mind again, then vanished. I sank to the floor, curling over my knees as I reeled in everything that I was, as I tried to keep from sobbing, from screaming, from emptying my stomach onto the floor. Amarantha will enjoy breaking her, Rhys observed to Tamlin. Almost as much as she'll enjoy watching you as she shatters her bit by bit. Tamlin was frozen, his arms, his claws hanging limply at his side. I'd never seen him look like that. Please, was all that Tamlin said. Please, what? Rhys said, gently, coaxingly, like a lover. Don't tell Amarantha about her, Tamlin said, his voice strained. And why not? As her whore, he said with a glance tossed in Lucian's direction, I should tell her everything. Please, Tamlin managed, as if it were difficult to breathe. Rhys pointed at the ground, and his smile became vicious. Beg, and I'll consider not telling Amarantha. Tamlin dropped to his knees and bowed his head. Lower. Tamlin pressed his forehead to the floor, his hand sliding along the floor towards Rhys's boots. I could have wept with rage at the sight of Tamlin being forced to bow to someone, at the sight of my High Lord being put so low. Rhys pointed at Lucian. You too, fox boy. Lucian's face was dark, but he lowered himself to his knees, then touched his head to the ground. I wished for the knife Rhys had chucked away, for anything with which to kill him. I stopped shaking long enough to hear Rhys speak again. Are you doing this for your sake, or for hers? He pondered, then shrugged, as if he weren't forcing a High Lord of Prythian to grovel. You're far too desperate, Tamlin. It's off-putting. Becoming High Lord made you so boring. Are you going to tell Amarantha? Tamlin said, keeping his face on the floor. Rhys smirked. Perhaps I'll tell her, perhaps I won't. In a flash of motion too fast for me to detect, Tamlin was on his feet, fangs dangerously close to Rhys's face. None of that, Rhys said, clicking his tongue and lightly shoving Tamlin away with a single hand. Not with a lady present. His eyes shifted to my face. What's your name, love? Giving him my name, and my family name, would only lead to more pain and suffering. He might very well find my family and drag them into Prythian to torment, just to amuse himself. But he could steal my name from my mind if I hesitated for too long. Keeping my mind blank and calm, I blurted the first name that came to mind. A village friend of my sister's whom I'd never spoken to and whose face I couldn't recall. Claire Better. My voice was nothing more than a gasp. Rhys turned back to Tamlin, unfazed by the High Lord's proximity. Well, this was entertaining. The most fun I've had in ages, actually. I'm looking forward to seeing you three under the mountain. I'll give Amarantha your regards." Then Rhysand vanished into nothing, as if he'd stepped through a rip in the world, leaving us alone in horrible, trembling silence.
Damn. Is all I can say to that. Is damn. If I'm being honest with you. My boy Tamlin. Like, my man, it took only 2 chapters for my man to finally, kiss the girl. Like, she ready to fuck, bro. I don't know what Tamlin's doing. That nigga playing around. Because Feyre ready to fuck. And then, I don't know, this Rhys dude comes out of nowhere and just humbles him. I know he was like, oh, I definitely ain't getting the coochie now. This man said, bow. He said, beg, motherfucker. Like, yo. Hey, yo. It's getting juicy. And then I think I don't know who this chick is. Amaranthia or whatever. But, and is that Tamlin's, like main bitch or something? Like, oh, we about to find out some crazy shit. But we'll find that out next week. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the chapters we've gone through in Court of Thorns and Roses. Hope you guys are just enjoying everything in general, man. I appreciate you guys so much. I love you all. Patreon people, I'll see you on Friday. And for all you free 99 motherfuckers, I'll see you on Tuesday. All right? Love you guys all. I'll see you later. Peace.